Okay. Good morning, everyone. I didn't put any lipstick on. Oh well. Thank you for being here. If you could like and subscribe, that's great. I did some nice remote viewings today. I've got a couple of answers for Mr. Biden, or Mr. Biden has some answers for us. Am I doing this backwards? I never know what I'm doing because I always flip it either from mirror to not. Anyway, how is everybody? These are tough times. People don't want to hear, people don't want to come over here and be, oh God, no, more horror story. You know what? Actually, there's a happy ending. I got an ending for Biden. That's good. Biden and Israel and Egypt, the Suez Canal, Port Said, what's going on? How can we avoid World War III? Trade, 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 East versus West. Thank you now, those of you who, it's been a long book. How long did it take you to read that book from the time I opened it? 5, 6 years? Oh, I'm sorry. It was a long book. So who's winning the war? East versus West. That's right, the West. I heard you. Mm-hmm. Putin not happy, huh? No, Putin's not happy. Where's Putin going? Siberia. Excuse me. Is he going to have his own guard? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Is he out of power soon? Yes. Mm-hmm. So you guys are good. You guys are good. What's going on in Egypt? Egypt's getting nervous. Why is Egypt getting nervous? They're worried that Tel Aviv is going to march on Cairo, just the way that Putin is worried that NATO is going to march on Moscow. Mm. NATO is going to march on Moscow. And Moscow can't prevent it because they don't have any money or any military left. The person screaming, we don't have any money to pay Prigozhin, got them to fire Prigozhin because they were running out of money. So then what happened to the guy that was crying wolf? They got rid of him too. What does that say about rope-a-dope? About the fact that the West played the long game until he had completely wiped out his arsenal, giving Ukraine just enough to hold him off. And then we have Sweden, we have Finland, NATO has only gotten stronger. We have the NATO alliance, right? So from this will come a new Russia, but a greatly depressed Russia with a lot less trade than it had before. It still has vital things it can contribute, uh, natural gas, uh, vodka, caviar. It still has exports, weapons, etc. But uh, both Iran and China, as well as Russia, are unfortunately bankrupted in this trade war. China is a sad story in the sense that the US contracts that they had with certain companies didn't necessarily end, but what changed was that they went to Taiwan and they did business with companies in Taiwan and American companies that had chosen to work in Taiwan. And this drove other US companies out of China into Taiwan and other Vietnam and other areas where they could get cheap labor these companies produce things that are bought by the US government. So the US government didn't want to be putting money into another government that was spying and against the U.S. and building up weapons against the U.S. It was not an ally. So why were we giving business to a country that was hostile to the U.S.? So that was ultimately why relations collapsed. COVID, the fact that there was spying back and forth, intellectual property theft, much of it causing Americans to go bankrupt. We talked about the fact that they were stealing patents, also producing cheap Chinese knockoffs, and it was causing U.S. companies to suffer financially. So all of those things led to a collapse of relations between China and the United States, and that's ultimately why they began sanctioning the United States and vice versa. So East was sanctioning the United States and vice versa. And all of that happened under Biden, which led to a lot of economic problems. They also began, the Biden administration, to create financial stress on the housing market, which collapsed Chinese investments, particularly in land, etc. Was that necessary? Some would say absolutely. And in fact, this should have happened a long time ago. People have said we should just let the US economy collapse so we can get this foreign interest out of here and rebuild. There are a lot of people that have felt that way. In terms of what's going on in Israel, as I said, what I believe Biden is attempting to do is not work for the enemy. He's trying to avoid Israel invading Egypt and Rafah into Sinai, which would spill refugees, but specifically Hamas supporting refugees into Egypt, and that would be a security issue. The reason why Israel would do that is because Egypt has not successfully been able to control smuggling tunnels on the Egyptian side. Part of the reason for that is because of sympathy and support for Hamas and Islamic Brotherhood by Egyptians. A majority of the country are Muslim. But the other reason is because it's quite profitable. And so even high-ranking members of Sisi's military were being paid off. And part of that is because the military is not even fed. And so the poverty of the Egyptian soldier is part of what made them vulnerable, and the Egyptian police on the ports. They weren't paid enough. And so bribes to look the other way or to allow smuggling to go in happened because of that. What Biden can do to avoid all of that from happening, the war, is that the US and NATO and possibly a Middle East and NATO can come in and secure the area so that Egypt is held accountable but also helped. Because part of why they're struggling is corruption, which is one of the reasons why Egypt is so poor. It's a lot of land, but it's mostly land with high rates of illiteracy, poverty, etc. So everybody wants the port. It's really about protecting the Suez Canal and Port Said, and the only way that they can do that and avoid Israel going into Egypt is if UN or some other peacekeeping group can come in and begin to police the ports to make sure these types of bribes are not happening. Because until you close that off, you're going to continue to have problems at the ports. Also, NATO should probably come in and protect everything going into the Suez and coming out of the Suez Canal, which again is ultimately what this is about. It's about smuggling and propping up a war of the East against the West. Let's do the impasse prayer. Excuse me. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively we say, Amen. So the first thing I'm going to do is just look at the cards around the Middle East conflict between Iran, Israel, the United States, Yemen, the Houthi, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, just the whole. I just want to get a panoramic view, see what the cards have to say. Okay, where we are at right now, people are just confused. What happens in war is people become stressed out, they become emotionally exhausted. People just want they've gone crazy wondering where their children are at. Hamas is releasing film footage of people being raped, molested, tortured, humiliated, executed. They're taking people out and executing them live and then showing it to the Israeli family. Well, of course, the Israeli family members have gone berserk. But that isn't what the media is saying. The media is saying, look at these evil Israeli settlers blocking food. They're not evil Israeli settlers. They're the parents of children that are being raped live, and it's being filmed and tortured and passed around, and they're going mad with insanity. Tell us where our children are. Stop. This food will be stolen and fed to Hamas, which is raping our kids every night. So that, again, what I resent is this dishonesty about being able to put yourself in the shoes of a mother going insane watching this. So we have Queen of Cups, complete in their cups, delusional, and the Moon, lunacy. So this inability to see the situation objectively. Back and forth, Two of Pentacles, rocky waters in the ports, instability in the ports. Do not be gaslit. Do not be part of the crazy. Do not be part of Iranian propaganda or any Israeli or any other propaganda, American. Be able to stand back and look at things objectively. This is East versus West. Two sides, rocky waters. Who's going to win in this standoff? We have strength coming in. Also understand that the totem of the nation of Israel is the lion. Each tribe, 13 tribes. Now it was 12. Well, Joseph became Ephraim and Manasseh, so it was 13. Each tribe had their own animal or totem. I think it was Reuben that was the stag. Is that right? So I got to be Reuben because I'm totally into the whole. Yeah. Anyway, so each tribe, just like Native Americans will often, you have symbols or totems of your particular clan. Many indigenous communities. So the lion is the totem for the tribe of Judea, like the collective tribes totem of the collective tribes is Judah. So you have the strength of Judah over this situation, the Lion of Judah. But you also have this trying to appease the lion so that they don't, we're going into Rafah. You did this, Egypt. You took bribes. We know who, when, and where. We know what you're doing over at Port Said. And since you failed to take responsibility, we're going to march on Port Said. We're going to take the Sinai, and we're going to give you all these people that you helped create. What is above? Six of Pentacles. Okay, how much do you need to get paid? How much do we need to pay Egypt not to kill Israel, not to kill Israelis? We're right back to 1977, 1978, right? with another, just where we were in 77, 78, where you had the peace accords, you had Menachem Begin. When was that? 77, 78. You had what was the fall of the Shah of Iran. It was another trade war, which led to an economic crisis, which caused Carter to be outed and for Reaganomics to come in. They used it as an incentive to say it's all the a fault of Carter. It was really that a competition between East versus West. Money coming in, Six of Pentacles, and what they're sitting in is trapped. The money. So people will be donating to help the people of Palestine. That money will go to buy arms, and then smugglers will take a bribe that's profitable to them to keep getting the weapons in. So people are making money making and selling the weapons. People are being manipulated because of emotionalism to donate to Palestine, which pays for it, which ultimately leads to more dead Palestinian kids. And it's a cycle. It's an economic cycle. So they are in an economic cycle where killing and torturing Palestinian children is the cycle. It is the profit. It is the business. That is the insanity, rather than being able to just step back and say, none of this is real. What's real is that we're fighting for territory over trade. Trade and territory, trade routes, which will probably collapse in the next 5 to 10 years due to drone innovation. I'm not totally convinced that the capsules we're seeing are alien. I think they may be some type of new drone technology that can be weaponized, but also be used for their storage lockers. Some of them are storage lockers, which means that defense is working on ways to store and travel and engage in trade that is not detected by the enemy, all kinds of trade, and you can bypass trade routes. And that's what I believe the part of the tic tac may be. These tic tac technologies, part is weaponry, but part is the larger tic tacs, the large quote unquote tic tac ships. I think these are hauling systems that the military is experimenting with. You have trying to pay people off. So the truth is hidden. Here comes Deborah. The West is going to win. Also, that's Ukraine. I just see the West winning. I also think that Israel there's this anger, like we are the last stronghold of the West. Stop treating us like this. Get these nut jobs out of here. If you don't do this, we will. So you have this real strong Lion of Judah, the Queen of Rods coming in, this Western energy. By August, I'm telling you, something really amazing is happening in August. The opposition, the East is completely confused. The hope and fear, 10 of Wands. People are going to have to pack up and move. There's more migrations, more movements. And then the final outcome is the military's coming in to, I think we're going to be seeing Middle Eastern NATO, and it's going to have to come in to help Egypt. Otherwise, Israel will go in and do it themselves, which is why Biden wants. It's not that Biden is helping Hamas. It's that this has to be done and dismantled in a way where we have the least amount of deaths and it doesn't lead to World War III with Israel attacking Egypt. We've got to do this in a clinical way. The Queen of Swords is very clinical also. It can be surgical. She's truth, she's judges, she's surgical. So if we're going to be dismantling this tunnel operation and the bootleggers and everything else, which requires us to go in and take control of the Egyptian side, it has to be done in a very precise way. It can't just be going in like a bull in a china shop, which is what people want to do because, again, it's emotionalism. But if we stand back and look at the situation objectively, what we need is to put emotion aside, find out where the smuggling is happening, shut it down, and dismantle it on the Egyptian side. And that could mean that Egypt has to have help controlling that side of the port. In fact, they do, because things are escalating. And if they don't have adequate protection of the Suez Canal, anything and everything coming out is vulnerable to attack by pirates. So the fact that Queen of Swords is coming in is quite auspicious. Yes, so the Queen of Swords will come in and there will be a peacekeeping troops. You can see Knight of Cups. It's also the time of the woman. If people want to avoid war in Egypt, if they want less corruption in Egypt, they should have a lot more women in positions of power in Egypt. And that goes true for the entire Middle East. That if women shared equal power in the Middle East, it would create a more balanced viewpoint with less of this reactive masculine or yang energy. There would be this ability to cool things down and look at things objectively without all this emotionalism, which, it's interesting that we think about women as are more emotional, but actually in Chinese medicine, it's the male. It's this this heat or yang is more likely to be temperamental, violent, out of control, particularly as men get hotter and hotter. They become more uncomfortable. We all do. But yang needs to avoid heat. Yin is more the cool and damp of yin benefits from heat. Heat benefits from cool. So this is why a lot of, professional boxers and men that are really, really yang will wake up and they'll take a cold shower. The first thing they want to do is cool the heat. They know they're going to have a really hot day, that they're going to get increasingly hot throughout the day, right? So they will start by cooling the body. Yeah. So Three of Cups came in, and Three of Cups, I don't think I showed it to you, but Three of Cups came in, and that was in the seventh house in the future with Archangel Raphael. And that leads me to suspect that more of this cooling energy, more of this female energy in leadership, and less of it just military. You need both. And that is ultimately what's going to help this part of the world. I want to just check Ukraine now and Zelensky. People have asked me to check Ukraine and Zelensky. People are tired of the war. They want the war to end. They feel like if they could just make a deal with Russia and just accept, well, we're going to be part of Russia. And so that may be why people are turning on Zelensky. They're calling it Zelensky's meat grinder. You have Putin's meat grinder, but you also have Zelensky's. And so for that reason, there's growing discontent, right? Though the majority still strongly support Zelensky. Has he got the Nobel Peace Prize yet? He's getting some kind of a global recognition. You can see here, King of Pentacles, Zelensky has the world. His karma is the world. So he gets the world. He did a very great thing in terms of karma. If you're talking about what he did for all of humanity, he is seen, Zelensky, as a great man for humanity, for the West, right? For the West. I think he's also Israeli. So he's Israeli, he's Ukrainian. And it's really about strengthening this Western, the Western democracies. I think Aronofsky, the Russian oligarch, owns the channel that Zelensky was an actor on, and they were close friends. And Zelensky is a moderate. He's not an Orthodox Muslim. He's basically a Democrat. And so Aronofsky funded his campaign. But the main thing is that he's a nationalist. He's a Democratic nationalist in the sense that he strongly believes in Ukrainian independence. And that's all Jewish people are Israeli. We're all granted citizenship at birth. So this relationship between Zelensky, Israel, Aronofsky, has led to a very powerful union in terms of strengthening the West. You can see here also the first house is Two of Cups with Zelensky, and the crossing card is Page of Pentacles. He will be reelected if he wants to be reelected. There's huge transformation above him and heartbreak. So there's future death and heartbreak. He feels trapped by his current in the past. It could be because we weren't adequately funding. Uh, Death leads to Ace of Swords. So he came out of fifth house and he's entering into Ace of Swords, a time of victory. Where he's at right now, he's building a new Ukraine. There's strife and things are happening very quickly. August. I'm telling you guys, within 1 month, a fool, they're going to go for something. I feel June 17th is an important date, starting the third week of June. He's got people that are pro-Russian still in his cabinet, and for that reason, that's going to be somewhat confusing for him. You can see he's building a cabinet, but he's got the devil still over him, and he's got a Four of Cups refusing an offer. So he's confused about the Western wishy-washy. Why don't you want me to take back Crimea? Not 100%. Like, they're still weeding out Russian support. Yeah, they will be victorious, but they will have a hard battle dismantling all of the support in Ukraine that currently exists for Russia. There are still people there that support Russia. But I think within a month we should see more aggressive counteroffensive on the part of the West after Russia has completely exhausted her arms. And I think at that point we'll see a pushback from the West starting around mid to late June. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. Okay, I think that's all I have for you today. I just wanted to come in and more of your questions we can take a look at Taco Tuesday tonight with Chuck Dransfield. I feel like I've been so serious and people are like, oh my God. Well, don't you think it's positive news though? If we get peacekeeping troops to protect the Suez Canal, that's going to put an end to the smuggling and we can avoid a lot of the crazy, right? We have a day after if everybody would just support the rebuild, right? But we need everybody on the same page. All right. Thanks, everyone. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. We'll see you next time. Peace out. Bye.